Hi, I'm Severo from HoRNet Plugins. I'm here because I want to show you our latest creation, which is an automatic compressor called ZeroComp. The interesting thing about this compressor is that you just put it on a track, you let it listen to your audio, and it sets by itself and adjusts attack, release, ratio, and threshold automatically just listening to your audio. It does so by analyzing what we call the Crest factor, which is the difference between the RMS level of the track and its peaks. So once we have identified those peaks, we can see how tall they are, and this is our Crest factor that determines the threshold and the ratio, and how far they are between each other, and that in turn determines the attack and release time. So with this information, we can feed our AI engine for each of the models, which is tailored to a specific attack release, knee, ratio, and threshold characteristic, and transfer curve characteristic of the compressor model. And these sets the correct parameter for each of the three models. In fact, in this compressor, you can find the smooth model, the tight model, and the fat model. With this model set, you can now adjust the amount of compression using one single knob that changes threshold and ratio together according to the specific characteristic of the compressor itself. And you can add a little bit more saturation before the compression begins so that you can shave off those peaks that may make the compressor work too much. The amount of compression is never fixed and it's relative because it's equal to the crest factor we identified before. So in some tracks, you will have a lot of compression going on. In other tracks, you will have just a little bit of compression that you can adjust with a knob, with the amount knob. This is because when it's 100%, we are trying to remove the crest factor altogether and make the track very compressed. While at zero, we don't have any compression at all going on. So it's all dependent of how big this difference between RMS and peak is. So now that you know all this, we can dig into my session. I have a drum kit that needs to be compressed. I already EQ'd everything. So I will just use a ZeroComp to compress each of the tracks. Now, I've put a ZeroComp just on my kick drum, but I'm going to copy that on all the other tracks I want to compress, because since it's in its default state, which is learning audio, I've copied that to all the tracks, and now when I press play, all the tracks will learn their own audio characteristic. So I will have all the compressor already set up. Now I will go each track, and I will set the two parameters I can set according to my tastes. So let's press play and see what happens. We now have our compressor set. They by default start with a smooth model. You have to choose the model. It's not chosen automatically because it's something that belongs to the particular taste of the engineer. This is not something that you can technically decide. So let's first try with a kick drum. I'm sure that I won't use the smooth model because it's a very slow model and it's perfect for vocals or for sustained sound like a slow played bass guitar or strings or guitars or whatever, but not for percussive sounds. I will probably end up with a tight one, but let me check between the fat, which is very aggressive, and the tight, which is more controlled. So this is our kick drum. First step, I will add more saturation. So I will reduce the amount of work the compressor has to do. Something like this. And then I will probably hit around the -5 dBs, which is a point that I like while compressing kick drums. Okay, let me try the difference with the fat model, which is much more aggressive. So let me dial back the compression amount. These make things bigger, definitely bigger. This brings out a little bit of boominess from the kick drum that I don't want, so I will go with a tight model. Something like this. Let me bypass it so you can hear the difference. Okay, now we move with a snare drum. And let me try the smooth model just out of curiosity, but I'm pretty sure it won't work. Let me solo that too. You see, it almost always compresses, so it's not a good model since you never have enough time to release, and there is no really need to keep everything steady because you are sacrificing the transients of the snare drum. So I will go with the tight one. A little bit less compression. Let me add saturation too here, around 50%, or we can even go higher with the snare drum because it's already a very saturated sound. So definitely more controlled with the fat model. It sucks too much when the snare drum hits. I prefer the tight with more compression. Okay, something like this. Now that we have kick and snare together, we can go to the overheads. This may be a good fit for the smooth model because we all want the complete image of the drum kit to be represented by the overheads. So I will dial back the compression. I don't want to compress too much because I don't want to lose the cymbals dynamics, which is very, very easily lost when you compress too much. A little bit of saturation to manage the spill from the snare drum. And this may be good. Let me try the tight model just out of curiosity. I think the smooth one is better here. Okay, and now the last one, which is the room microphone, which has to bring us the idea of the ambience of the recording. So we want to use the fat model very aggressively, heavy saturation, because we want just the idea of the roominess of the room of the recording, and so compress it as much as we can. And it sounds like this by itself. So you can hear the whole ambience that is being carried over by this type of compression. So I will bring back the kick, snare, overheads, and just rise the volume here. And here we are with the compressed sound of the kick, the drum kit, track by track, but we want also to compress the drum bass because we want to have a more cohesive sound. So I will add ZeroComp here too. It already listens to the audio, sets the models. Okay, well, in this case the smooth model it's too slow because it smooth out too much of the transients. So I will try the tight, which I think it's the better one for this, the best one for this context. And it already sounds good. Just a little bit of saturation to be a little bit more aggressive. And more compression. And here we are. So everything is more glued together and it's better. So as you can see, we have quickly mixed our drum kit using ZeroComp that sets by itself. So one pass, it listens to the audio, and then you tweak the two controls to get the sound you want. It's very easy. It almost always sounds good. There is no way you can mess up the sound because it adjusts the compressor parameter using a standard way of working, and you never get it wrong with this way. It's perfect if you are just in that flow and you want to produce and you don't want to think about the technicalities of production. You want to go to write your song, so you set the compressor, adjust a couple of knobs, and you're done. Maybe later you will set another compressor and adjust it perfectly to the taste, or just leave ZeroComp on. Doesn't matter because it's a high quality processing, just hidden inside two smart controls. So you can try out ZeroComp now on our website. There is a demo, so go to www.hornetplugins.com, download the demo, try it out, and let me know if you like it. And if you have any comment, just write down here below, or write me an email on any of our social. And for the meantime, thank you very much for watching this video.